Hey, good evening, everybody. In tonight's video, I'm going to talk about how to learn judo under my program. Yeah, um, I'm going to share a little bit of story about myself. Maybe some of you will associate with some of the details, but um, at the end of the day, judo isn't a sport or a martial art that one learns very quickly. Okay. Now, when I first started judo, it was like 15 or 16 years old, and I came from an upbringing where I was told that I should always hustle, right? Somebody says, "Hey, go get that ball and bring it back to me. Go run and get the ball and bring it back, real quick." Or somebody says, "Go line up over there. You just go hustle and line up." And there were things that were said like, "Do your best to learn quickly and separate yourself from your peers, and always be first." Right? I don't know if some of you can associate with that, but that's kind of like how I was raised. And I mean, I think all of that stuff is good, right? I mean, you should try your best and you should hustle. It's very important. Um, and if you're a competitor, you should try to separate yourself from your peers, right? Um, but under my program, it's a little different, and I'm going to tell you why. So I started judo 15, 16 years old with this mentality, and so I wanted to learn my yellow belt techniques quickly, and I wanted to get my yellow belt quickly, right? And I did that, and then I wanted to get my orange belt. I wanted to get it quickly, right? And it did that, and I started competing in tournaments. And at first, I wasn't, all that great, but then I got better, and I got promoted, and I quickly achieved my brown belt. And I did so because I learned how to do a few techniques um, relatively well, right? And I was fast, right? I was agile, yeah, and yeah, I was a decent athlete, so I was able to beat people who, in a tournament setting, who weren't as fast as I was, right? And um, my strengths were in leg techniques, foot techniques. So the reason why this is important is when I went to the national level, I got crushed. I mean, it was 30 seconds dancing around. I had my grips. I was feeling pretty good. And then the match was over. Right. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the sport of judo, you can lose instantly on a throw. Right. If you get just slammed to the mat, uh, the game is over. Right. So that's basically what happened. Yeah, I went to the high school nationals, I went to the junior Olympics, and it just got crushed. Um, and it was because I learned 90% of these techniques, enough to be able to pass my belt requirement, testing, practical tests, if you will. Right. So I knew just enough to do that, 90% of the techniques. But there was 10% that just kind of like glossed over the little details, right? Well, I had to take a break from judo, and when I came back, it was like 35 years old ish. Yeah, when my daughter was practicing, right? And I started to understand that as an older competitor, I had to be smarter, right? So I started to learn more about all of these techniques, and I competed when I was in my 30s, like 35, 36, 37, and I found a lot of success. I won a lot of like regional tournaments. I didn't go to a national tournament, but I went to regional tournaments and I did fairly well. Well, um, I had to take another break for about 15 years, and um, I've been practicing now for the past few years, and um, I've approached judo differently. Um, Back when I was a teenager, I wanted to get my brown belt. It was important to me. And um, back when I was in my mid 30s, I wanted to get my black belt. It was important to me. But I was kind of like rushing, right? And it wasn't until this past year, maybe a year and a half, and I've been spending a lot of time thinking about judo, better understanding how things work. And not just that, like um, I've started to figure out how I can apply, the lessons that I've learned in physical fitness and being a personal trainer, and how to incorporate those methodologies and these training concepts into training judo. And it's really helped, open my eyes to a more progressive way to approach sport. Well, that being said, when you take judo at Moraine Valley Judo Academy, um, you don't have to worry about separating yourself from your peers, right? Because in our academy, we're going to grow together, right? And I've said this before, but I really believe uh, in this model, yeah. And don't worry about getting promoted either, because that's going to happen. Um, as long as you come to class regularly, right? I'm going to train you in a way where getting your belt promotions on time shouldn't be a problem. We're going to teach you the techniques, right? Um, and then we're going to give you a ton of time to practice. And during that time, while we're practicing, right, we can figure out that last 10% of the puzzle together, right? Because you're going to get 90% of it. Maybe some of you might get like 60% of it, and maybe a couple of weeks later, you're at like 80 or, whatnot, but you're going to get there and you're going to have a ton of opportunity to practice, right? And we're all going to help each other. So I encourage you all to, when it comes to learning judo, just do the following things, right? If you're going to watch a video, have a notepad with you. Yeah, you get onto YouTube and just like, oh yeah, I want to see how this person does like Harai Goshi, right? And actually pay attention to what they're saying. Not necessarily what you're seeing, but what they're saying. And write that down. What are the major points of this throw or this choke or this pin or whatever it is, this turnover? What is it that makes this technique work? Right. So you have to watch the whole video. You have to take notes to think about it. Right. And then when you're in a class, right, work with your partner. Tell your partner, hey, I'm working on this. Share the video. Make friends in the dojo. Right. And then collectively, you and your friends or group of friends, right, can begin to learn all sorts of cool stuff because you're doing it together, right? You have different people perceiving different things, yeah, collaborating, right? And it will just be a lot more fun. It'll be a lot more enjoyable, right? And as for the fitness standpoint, don't worry about the fitness either, because that's also going to come. I hope this video has helped you. And as always, reach out if you have questions. And well, we'll see you on the mat.